Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Tuesday webinar series with Jeremy Sutton. We're happy to have Jeremy with us here today, and we'll let the room fill up a little bit, and then we'll get started in a few minutes. I see quite a few people coming in right now, so that's great. Welcome, everybody. We'll get started in about 30 seconds, or maybe a little bit longer than that, but we'll see. So we'll just wait till the room fills up, and it is. And so that's great to see you. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I really appreciate it. So I'll be back in a few seconds. All right, it looks like we have quite a few people here, so let's get started. My name is Doug Little, and I am the head of PR here at Wacom Americas, and it's great to have you all here today. Wacom has been around for 35 plus years, and we've been making interactive pen displays and pen tablets for computers for a very long time to allow you to be as creative as possible, and that's what we're all about. We're all about making it harmonious between technology and computers. So it's a fun company to be with. And here today we have Jeremy Sutton. We're super excited, but let's go over a few housekeeping things first. This session will last about an hour. We may go over a little bit more. Jeremy tends to like to talk a lot, so we may go over a little bit, and that's okay. So it'll be fun. If you do have any questions, please place them in the Q&A, and I will monitor the Q&A as Jeremy is presenting. And we'll also have the chat available. Peter Dietrich and Tom Feston are kind of monitoring all that stuff on the back end of Zoom here. They're my great colleagues who are helping out today. So that's wonderful. And so here we go. So Jeremy Sutton, he's a Corel Painter Master. He's an Elite Master. We've known Jeremy for years and years. He's a great friend of ours. He's based in San Francisco. He's also the founder of paintboxtv.com, which is an online learning resource. So if you're ever looking to learn more about painter and digital art, Jeremy is a standout in that area. He enjoys sharing his creative process at events around the world. He does webinars like this with us. He also does live events. He does art festivals, all kinds of things like that. He's a great teacher as well. And he's also, of course, an amazing artist, both traditional and digital. So Jeremy, welcome. We're looking forward to hearing more about all the things that are new in Painter 2021 and using that on our Wacom One creative pen display. So welcome, Jeremy, and take it away.
Okay, hi everybody, and thank you so much. The Wacom team, indeed, as Doug said, I've known and used the Wacom actually for almost, let's see, gosh, 30 years. Can it be that long? 1991. And the name Wacom from meaning, as Doug mentioned, harmony between user and computer. And over these many years of using the Wacom technology, it's really been sort of coming together of the tools, the medium, and the vision. And that's always what I'm aiming for. So I'm not really into like lots of, the technical this and the technical that. I'm really into the fact that I just want to paint and I want to draw, and the interface with the computer or whatever tool I'm using, I just, in a sense, I want it to disappear. And I just want to be in the moment in the creative process. So in diving in today, we're going to be diving into, illustrating some of the new features of the amazing Corel Painter 2021. And again, as with the history with Wacom, I've also used Painter since, about 1991/92. So, and I've seen it sort of go through many variations, obviously, over the decades. Have always loved Painter. And I have to say, this Painter 2021, it feels like an incredible maturation of the product in a really good way. as a painter in all media, I work with traditional drawing, painting, as well as digital. I love texture and thick paint, and over the years, we've had impasto in Painter, and more recently thick paint. But this latest version of Painter, it's when it's sort of like everything blossomed, and it's been absolutely a delight to use. So in terms of a really short answer to the underlying question of, if you're already using Painter, should I upgrade to 2021? If you've got a Wacom tablet, is this a great program to use with it? Absolutely. And there's many new elements in 2021, both brand new and enhancements. And I don't have time to go through all of them. They're all on their webpage. And it works faster and better. The layers are improved. But and we'll go through some of the specifics. But for me, personally as an artist, the standout is the thick paint. The thick paint is just happening. And for that reason, sharp-eyed amongst you may have noticed there's a little theme going on here. And let me show you my cup of tea, the Vincent van Gogh mug. I've got the Van Gogh Museum t-shirt. Okay, what's behind me? Let's have a look. So this is a canvas print of a painting made using Painter and the Wacom tablet. And this is actually a scene from the Blau Tea House, or the Blue Tea House, in the middle of Vondel Park. And of course, Vincent van Gogh, as you would say in Dutch, was from the Netherlands originally. But I love the Monet Bridge and the person walking their dog in the rain. But anyway, that's what's behind us. And this also has acrylic paint on it, so I'm working with thickness of paint. And you may have also noticed, if you're in gallery mode, seeing that I have as my painting subject today some Dutch-inspired flowers. Of course, we have to have sunflowers in homage to Vincent, and also some Dutch tulips, slightly floppy ones, but there we go. And then the final thing is, of course, you can't see it in detail, and I'll hold it up here, but I have a very special teapot that I only bring out on special occasions, my Vincent van Gogh teapot, and the VIPs, which you all are. Okay, enough babble here. Let's dive in and do some painting. So I'm going to show, show Painter here, Painter 2021.
Hey, Jeremy, we have a quick question.
Already? Wow, I haven't even done anything.
I know, it's fabulous. Somebody was asking if, does Painter 2021 work with Windows 7?
Oh, that's a really good question. Someone other than me should just go to the Painter website.
We can put it in chat.
Yeah, and just look up the specs for the program. It does work with Windows. This is an app that is designed to work with Mac or Windows, and but I don't know about Windows 7, and someone should just look that up.
Sure, and to answer the rest of their question, they were asking about the Intuos 4, and I can say yes, Painter 2021 will work with your Intuos 4 with no problem.
Yeah, so we're in Painter 2021. So let's say you're new to this program, you've opened it up, and I just want to share a couple of slight little details, and they may be really dull and boring. Don't worry, I'm going to start off with a splash, but actually a little bit of prep goes a long way. So so what I'm going to do is go to Preferences, Performance, because one of the things that they've done in Painter 2021 is incredible performance enhancements of how everything works. The brushes, the layers, go in between tools. It really is like so speedy. But some things make a big difference, and some things you have to actually go in here to adjust. I discovered this firsthand. So I'm, by the way, in terms of my equipment here and what I'm using, I'm working with a MacBook Pro. I have 2 Wacom tablets attached to my computer right now, Intuos Pro Medium and the Wacom One, which is like a sort of Cintiq style of pen display. And but the one thing I would say is that make sure that you've configured this part of the preferences to work with your GPU, so you take advantage of the GPU that you have in your computer. The other thing that I do, and this is sort of, again, it's like, you know, little detail, but it just makes such a difference to flow. And what I go back to at the beginning of this presentation was that I want the computer to disappear. I want everything, just allow me just to paint. That's what I'm really interested in. So one of the things I take time to do and is just go through the preferences, special layers, and I just turn off the display a prompt all the time, and I just set it up so that when I'm on a thick paint layer, it's going to work with thick paint or with thick paint compatible brushes, and it's automatically going to create a new layer if not. So that's basically what that is. That all does make a difference. And then the one other thing I'd say, once you've adjusted anything in performance, restart Painter and run the brush accelerator. It's going to tell you, you know, your performance roughly of your computer for Painter, but it's just, you're optimizing things. So that's all good. Brilliant. We're over and done with that. Now let's dive in and just open up a new sheet of paper. And so I'm in the default layout of Painter. And so when you first open the program, this is roughly what you're going to see. And I'm just going to go to File, New. And so right away, there are some things which are fresh and wonderful in Corel Painter 2021. So very easy just to set your canvas size in inches independently, set the resolution. You can use any units you want, but I'm going to work, you know, thinking about the fact I'm going to paint some sunflowers, and I'm thinking about the size and orientation of Van Gogh's work. I'm going to do a 16-inch wide, 20-inch high, 150 pixels in every inch. But you notice here you can actually go between landscape and portrait really easily. I'm going to do actually portrait for this because it fits the shape of the sunflowers better. You can preset your canvas color. You can preset your paper grain, which we're going to look at applying to this. So I've picked a gessoed paper grain here. So it's actually a canvas-like texture. You can set up the layer type that's going to start with and the color profile. Brilliant. So let's just see what happens. So say, okay, there we go. We got a fresh new piece of paper. It's pretty flattened, just got a color that I just set. So let's already try to make this a little bit more interesting before I go any further. And so what I'd like to do is to add a little bit of paper texture to this in terms of just a texture. So what we're going to do is go to one of the new features here. They have command bars with which are new in Painter 2021, and there's a very nice one called Photo Art, and you can put this in your top bar, etc. And what these are basically little shortcuts that allow you to access things that are very handy. And this one on the right, when I tap on it, you can set what it's the shortcut for. And I'm just going to apply a surface texture to this flat canvas here. And actually, I'll set it on the canvas here. Click on that. And let's just apply this paper. And what we'll do is we can vary the amount. I want it sort of so you can see it easily. And we'll say OK. And I'll just zoom in here so you can see that. Now, one thing about the zooming in, there it is, just got a bit of grit to it, a bit of texture. One thing about the zooming in that you couldn't see because I was doing it off camera, but I was actually using 2 fingers on my MacBook Pro trackpad. So this is one of the new features here, is that you can actually use a trackpad with 2 fingers for moving, rotating, and rescaling your canvas. And that's very handy. Another thing that they've added in terms of compatibility with the new MacBook toolbar is that there's a series of commands that you can just touch on that little toolbar on your MacBook Pro, and one of them actually allows me to bring up the floating color palette, which is really quite handy. So for the moment, I'll just have that sitting here. You can see I've also got one on the right, but it's quite nice to have the floating one. You can even bring it over there and adjust its size so it sort of fits wherever you want. Okie dokes. So let's now have some fun on this canvas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking directly at the sunflowers. You can see on your little view roughly what I'm seeing. It's not exactly the same view, but we'll have a go. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the new things here. So right away, there is something very interesting. There's a brush category called Thick Paint Compatible. And so what we now have is a whole series of brushes that can work on thick paint layers. It goes even further than that. You can actually take a regular layer and convert it to a thick paint layer, as we're going to see. And so let me just find something like the oily dry pastel. So it's a pastel brush, but it's now, I'm going to apply it on a thick paint layer. So I'm going to pick that. And I just want to show one other thing here. So that's new in Painter 2021. If you look at the bottom, you'll see that it says layer compatibility. And so it actually has two icons. So it's telling me that it's compatible with thick paint layers, and it's also compatible with default layers. So now this is a new set of information. If you're wondering, oh, is this brush going to work on a thick paint layer? You've got the answer right there. And what's really cool is that if you just touch on those icons, depending what they're showing, like this one has, it brings up the search function for brushes and TP for thick paint, and it shows you all the brushes that are compatible with thick paint. So you've now got a means of knowing pretty easily what's going to work on a thick paint layer. I've got a thick paint layer, and I have to look a little bit, and I'm going to work. Here we go with the thick paint compatible brushes. And what happened was I was starting to use my Intuos Pro. I'm now using the there we go. I'm now using the Wacom One, and it has a memory with each of the pens as to what the last brush used was. So now we've got that same brush. And one of the things that we have here in the Wacom One is the ability to set a shortcut in the little button. I'll hold it towards there, the little button on the pen. And so I just increase the brush size, and I love this. And I do this with all my Wacom pens. Is I have one of the, at least if there is, in this case, just one function, but if there's two functions, at least one of them is the shortcut for changing brush size on the fly. And for those of you who are wondering, well, what is that shortcut? It's very simple. So on a Mac, it's the Option and Command keys held down at the same time. So when I tap and then stretch here, changing brush size, that's what's happening, is that I'm holding down automatically the Option command. And on a PC, that would be Alt and Control. Very, very handy shortcut. I use it all the time, and I recommend it. So I'll do that again. And just so that you know how to do that operation of changing the button, I'll go to the System Preferences, and we'll go to the Wacom tab. Just so, for completeness sake, you'll see there that you have on the Wacom One pen the option to use what's called a modifier, where you can select Option and Command. So that's how I set that up, in case you're wondering how to do that. Now, when I do these background brush strokes, and this is a little bit at the moment, I'm going to keep it super abstract and set my composition up. And I'm just going to share a little bit of process. There's many ways to do everything, of course. This is art. But one of the things I'm doing here is in a way laying down a very loose abstract background as to what's where, and deciding on the scaling of my painting of these flowers. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. So one of the things that's that I tend to like is that I do like it when there's a bit more variation within a brush stroke in terms of color or tone or saturation, just some sort of more interesting variation. So I'm just going to show you a little tip in terms of something that I set up in my palettes or panels on my desktop. So it's rather hidden. So bear with me, please bear with me. So it's hidden under Window, Brush Controls, Brush Media. I know. It's like, could it be more hidden than that? It's like, oh, what's Jeremy doing? All these menus, and I want to keep things simple, but some of this is you only have to set up once. So
Hey, Jeremy, we have another question while you're doing that.
yeah, what's that?
Is there a way to make shortcuts visible when you hover over one of the tools?
Yes. Let's 1 second. Let me just drag out this panel that I wanted. Get rid of that. And there is tool tips, and I'm going to have to just look for that. So I think the default is that they are visible. So when I hold down my cursor, so I'm not touching over any of these wonderful property bar icons, it tells me what they are, and some of them have more detailed tips. So the answer is yes, and I'm going to have to look up exactly where you turn those on. Again, there's probably someone here, painter experts who know a lot more than me, who can just type that in the chat, or can even send it in through the Q&A. But in this color variability panel, there is this wonderful facility to add hue, saturation, and value variation. So you can, into your brush stroke. So this is, this is not new to Painter 2021, but what it does is it allows you to get a lot more interesting variation as you work in your brushstroke. So let's have a look. Let's change brushstroke here. So to a different brush. We're going to go to a thick impasto knife, still in the thick paint compatible category, and let's make that a little bit bigger. So there we go. And this one definitely has a bit more of a Van Gogh-y feel. So again, what I'm doing here is just quick roughing out, and just want to get my underpainting set here. That's really all I'm doing. And I'm not worrying too much about getting anything exact and right. So really, I think having fun when you're doing all this is actually quite an important part of painting. It's like, just play and have fun and experiment and take risk. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And everybody does something completely different and unique. So it's fun to do. So let me just have a look here. I'm going to bring back that floating palette.
And while you're doing that, I have another question for you.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a artist here interested in the ease of use of Painter now. Has it gotten easier to use? Some people think it's a fairly complicated program because there are a lot of choices out there: Clip Studio, Procreate, etc. What are your feelings about that, Jeremy?
Yeah. So the answer is yes. It is a program which is deep and has so many things, buried within it, that it's one of those things that, the more you investigate and the more you explore, the more there is. So in that sense, it's very deep, and it has the opportunity for you to go very deep. But having said that, I mean, you're watching me. It's like I don't really have to say very much. I mean, I'm just picking a brush, I'm picking color, and I'm painting. So you can use it at a very, very simple level, and it is fun to use. And the brush effects that you have here and the brush looks are just like remarkable. And you know, so I'm always interested in tools. I'm always exploring tools. As some of you who know my work well will know, I use the iPad a lot, and I use Procreate a lot for performance art. That's, my main part of my profession. But it does not have what I'm able to be doing right now. And this is, just with a thick paint compatible, thick impasto knife that I'm having some fun with. So I would definitely say to the person who asked that question, that you will love Corel Painter 2021. Dive in, but dive in with a spirit of exploration, and don't expect it sort of, how do I say this? It is a medium which you need to take time, like with any art medium, to explore and get to know. So in that sense, you're going to have to explore it and take some time to experiment with brushes, etc., etc. But hopefully I can give you a few tips along the way. Let's change to another brush here in the compatibles, and then we're going to dive into the thick paints. So we're going to do, let's have a look, the Sargent, we've got thick Sargent. I think in terms of my underpainting, I feel like I've got quite a lot going here. I'm going to zoom in just for a moment because I want to show you something that's quite remarkable. So we can put that color variability down here. And by the way, when we vary those color variability sliders, they can be wild. Like, look at that. And then you get less and less, and then you start to get some interesting subtle effects. So that color variability that I introduced there, to be used, to be used sort of sometimes minimalistically with all these things. Experiment, go crazy, and then sort of scale it back a bit. But and if you ever want to get back to a brush setting that it originally was, just go up to your reset button and click it, and then you're back to the original setting. So that's always handy to know. I want to show you here. So we're on a thick paint layer in Painter, and one of the things that's been introduced into Painter 2021 is this wonderful slider. So I want you to watch what's going on. So as I pull that slider to the right, it's increasing the depth of the thick paint. And as I pull that slider to the left, it takes it more and more subtle. And when I take it all the way to the left, there's no thick paint at all. So you've got this incredible power to adjust your sort of paint thickness at an instant, layer by layer. It's really, really amazing. On top of that, if we go to the canvas menu and surface lighting, then you can grab the light source and you can change the direction of the shadows, the brightness, the exposure. So you can actually do a lot of experimentation with the look of your thick paint brush strokes. I mean, again, that's like, wow, isn't that crazy that you can do that? And if you just want to go back to how it was, you just click the reset button. But, you might find you like it with more brightness or more exposure. So, have fun. This is all here for you to experiment with. And just in case you forgot, that was under the canvas menu, surface lighting. Okay, so let's dive into the thick paint category. And just so that we have some differentiation here, I'm going to work with a new thick paint layer, and you have at the bottom of the layers panel a set of icons which includes not just new layer, but a new thick paint layer, a new watercolor layer, and a new liquid ink layer. So you've got lots of options here to create these layers if you wish, and of course layer, mask, and locking layers. So let's just go new thick paint layer, and let's start with a heavy texture knife. So let's go for it and see what goes on. So thick paint is the category, and we're going to go for the heavy texture knife to begin with. Where are you, heavy texture knife? There you are. And let's zoom out. So all these zooms I'm doing, I'm using 2 fingers on a trackpad, and so you can, so it makes it really easy. I like that. So continuous zoom in and out. Okay, so let's just see what we've got here. And oh wow, okay, let's just zoom in a bit because I don't want you to miss out on any. And again, when you see me moving my my canvas around, let's see.
Hey Jeremy, can each color be on its own layer? So changing opacity or thickness can be applied selectively?
Yes, so, well, that is the case. So let's just see what's on this layer. So this is on this new layer here. There we go. And so if I want to adjust the thickness of that, when I do that slider, it's only affecting that layer. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but so the variable depth slider only affects the layer that that's active at that point in time.
Yeah, I think that answers the question. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just loosen up a bit here. And get some variation going, maybe some green. And as I mentioned, I really like variation in my brush strokes. And here we are, we're working with this wonderful impasto style of thick paint. There it is, very goopy. But the color looks pretty uniform, doesn't it? So one of the things, as you've probably already noticed, that I aim for when it comes to color is I really want variation. So let's start to bring in some variation and some ideas as well. So one thing I recommend, especially if you're inspired by an artwork or an image or a photograph or something, I definitely recommend taking advantage of the reference image. So the window reference image brings you up a window, and you can pick from any JPEG you have on your computer. It doesn't matter what it is. You just click on that little folder, and I've picked, of course, one of the Van Gogh sunflowers paintings. I'm not going to copy it. That's not the purpose of it being there, but I can move around and have a look and get some ideas and inspiration. So this is one thing, is just you can also pick color from it. So look at that nice background color, and I've picked that color here, and then look at that green, I've picked that color here. So you can use it in the color picking way, and you can use it in a reference way, just so it's got something for you to reference. Let's just pick that. There we go. I'm going to make it sort of small and move that in the middle. There we go. That's good enough. I'll put that down here for the moment. That's one thing we can do, but let's have some more fun than that. So let's go to the mixer pad. Here we go, mixer pad. This is the default mixer pad. And what I want to draw your attention to is this magical tool in the mixer pad, which has been there for a long time. It's not new in Painter 2021. So this is Sample Multiple Colors eyedropper. And if you click, let's say, between that green and yellow, we now have color across the width of our stroke. Isn't that cool? So we can sort of have fun with that. Incidentally, this is not a a rotationally sensitive pen. However, if you wanna have some variation, add some variation to your brush stroke, there's various options. So under the Advanced menu, you can go to Angle, and you can determine what's determining the angle. And if I put Tilt, and I vary the tilt, I can actually rotate the brush stroke. So you can get all sorts of effects like that if you want. So there's lots of options. And okay, but this is a bit yellow. I wanted more green. I can go there. Okay, and then put some red and yellow in here. However, let's go one step further with this, and let's actually open up a new mixer pad. And why don't we pick a mixer pad again that's based on Van Gogh's own artwork? So here we go. Let's open up some sunflowers, and let's pick some of the oranges that he used in his sunflowers. So let me just zoom out. I have to zoom out a little bit here to see what's going on. And one of the things that you may notice is that I'm never afraid of making a mess. Even in front of all these people, and then it'll be posted and people say, ah, look at that mess. So that's okay. We have to always take risk. And so let me just move this around, and we'll have a look at some other elements here, like the yellow in that pot, and then go back to sample multiple colors. And so we can get some interesting options there.
Hey, Jeremy, somebody has a question about shadow tones.
Yes.
Can you choose a shadow tone that is less black when using the thick paint strokes?
Well, yes. Let me change the brush. So let's go to dry flat knife. So there's a couple of things. So let's go here, dry flat knife. Where are you? Dry flat knife. Let's have a look, see what you look like. This one actually already has a flatter tone, and let me just go here. Yeah, so this one actually, this one is so cool for scumbling. So for any of you who've been wondering, like, how do you get that scumbling effect where it looks like paint dragged out? And this is a great brush to do that. Again, this is the dry flat knife, and the question was about the shadow on the thickness, right? So really the two places to adjust that would be the the visibility of the depth is one place. So to the left it's got less shadow, to the right it's got more shadow. So that's one place. And then the other place is what I showed you earlier, which is the canvas surface lighting. It's a bit tricky though, and it's easy to sort of get it looking crazy, but you can either move the direction of the shadow and the lighting on that globe, or you can actually just move the sliders and the concentration of light and the exposure and less exposure and more shadow. So you've got those as well, and I'm just going to reset how it was. So you do have that option. And you also, in an individual brush, can change the impasto depth if it's an impasto brush. So let's have a look at this brush here for a moment. And one of the things I want to show, let's have a look. There we go. Let's have a look. Let's go for a thick, wet. Well, actually, this one, before I leave it, I just want to show that this one is really cool with different paper textures. So if you want to get something dramatic, let's go for one of the watercolor paper textures. By the way, notice that they've got all the things you need a handle on now to adjust your main brush properties are at the top in the property bar, so you don't have to get a lot of things out and go into menus and panels. It's like such a a relief to just have everything at hand there. And what I wanted to show was that if I press lightly with this, you can get really, really, really cool. let me just zoom in. Let's put a little bit of hue and saturation variability there so it's more interesting. But if I press lightly, I'm getting that texture showing through in such a cool fashion. So you can start to really like get this scumbly effect. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And so I can use that for the shadow, you know, area. There we go. Next to the flower pot, things like that. And let's just zoom in there so you can see that. 1 second. There it is. I mean, it's just when you start to look at the effects like this, it's just amazing. Another new thing in Painter 21 is you can apply what's called preserved transparency to a thick paint layer. So if I check that preserved transparency, let's do the preserved transparency. 1 second, make sure that's on. Yes, and that's good. And then supposing I want to change the color of my shadow, but I like the shape of it. So let's put more purples into it. And do you see, oh my gosh, look at that. Isn't that just cool? So you can literally, it's like making what they used to call a frisket or a mask. And that is what we're doing basically, is wherever there is visible paint in that thick paint layer, it's only allowing the paint to go on that area. And to paint anywhere, I have to take off that check mark, which is the first one on the left, right under the Composite Methods in the Layers panel, and then I can paint anywhere and spread it around. Okay, that's good. Let's just change brush here, and we're going to go to loaded, thick, and wet. Where are you? Loaded, thick, and wet. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And let's just zoom out here. Bring this down. And oh, wow, look at this. I'm just to make sure it's on the default. Yeah. Wow. So this is really cool. And let's actually, we could use that to do some of the writing. Oh, wow. This is perfect because it actually is the same texture as the gold writing on the pot, which was created by Quinn many years ago. And oh, it's perfect, perfect. I didn't even realize it would be so perfect for that. There we go. Oh, this would be a great signature brush. I should have thought of that. And let's maybe create some sort of a border here. And so you might notice that what's happening is that as I paint, it's running out of paint and it's getting thinner and scratchier. So I want to show you something really magical that you should be aware of for when you're painting in Painter 2021. So if you ever have a brush which you want to sort of keep painting with and paint over, oops, I'm just changing the brush size here, and you want to paint over a distance and not have it run out like that. Although the running out, by the way, is sometimes really cool because it has a wonderful tail off texture. But watch this. There is this magical button. I'm going to leave my cursor on it for a moment so you can read that. Prevent the brush from running out of paint. And it's, of course, got the infinite symbol. And this is the magic infinite paint brush. So tap on that infinite paint function icon. And now that same brush, okay, I'm going to change its color a little bit and do a line up there. Ooh. So the same brush, I can go on and on and on. Now that's a bit bright up there, and so maybe I'm going to go and mix a bit of the Van Gogh colors, and there we go. But you'll find that you can basically extend the life of any brush if you want to. Now I actually quite like the trail off, so I'm going to actually turn off infinite paint. That's okay with me, I don't mind it, but some brushes, like, they just end too early, so to speak, and you sort of want them to keep going longer. So there we go. You've already got a cool way to do that. And so let's have a look at one more here, because I want to show a couple of other things. Wow, time's flying. So let's have a look at the heavy loaded knife. Where are you, heavy loaded knife? It's the next one. Heavy loaded knife. And let's see how this is going to work. And you can see here, like really thick, lusciously thick. Add a little bit of variation into that. Yes. And maybe make it a bit smaller. So you can use, these thick paints to start to create quite a sculptural effect, really. And even if I make it really small, wonder if I can get a nice linear look to it. If I press lightly. And I'm always sort of experimenting with the brushes I use, and never run out of things to experiment with. That's for sure. And okay, we're going to get some brighter red, some pinks over here. Keep it fairly. Look at that. Perfect Van Gogh type of brush stroke. And a little bit of light green, tealy greeny. So, yep, maybe a bit more greeny. Okay, now with the project that I'm working on, I could just keep working on this. I'm enjoying it. I could keep experimenting with the brushes and all that good stuff. But because, I want to share some things with you, and we've got a few more minutes left, I'm going to just switch gears a little bit, even though I could just certainly keep working on that. And I recommend, if you want to just go out and buy yourself some sunflowers and have a go at doing, a Van Gogh as a fun learning painting. It's a great idea. You can not just learn from him, but you can learn about Painter 2021 and just have a go at all the different thick paint brushes and thick paint compatible brushes and just have some fun with it.
And Jeremy, you might want to talk a little bit about some of your classes and things that you offer to people that might be interested as well.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. So I am actually going to run a Painter 2021 class in the new year, and if you go to paintboxtv.com, which is my sort of education site, then under courses it has the details. I also always producing videos, and I have a monthly Painter Lab for members, and it's a membership site, so you can learn lots from that if you want. And then post COVID and post pandemic, whenever that happens to be, I do have occasional classes in my studio in San Francisco, but for the moment everything is done by Zoom, just like this. But thank you for offering that. Oh, I could keep going forever on this. It's too much fun. But let me show you something else. And so what I'm going to do is fish up a photograph. Now, I just want to be clear. So what you saw me do in this demo up to now is completely from eyeballing. It's completely from direct observation. I'm looking at the sunflowers. So it's not a cloned painting. But I want to share just a couple of quick things about Painter 2021, some new stuff that's pretty cool and fun. So this is a photograph I took on my phone a few minutes ago. It's roughly the angle I'm looking at, not exactly, but it's good enough, roughly the angle. And so what I'm going to do is click on another one of these buttons on the photo art command bar, and I'm going to do a series of what they call AI, artificial intelligence styles, and we're going to start with gilded, see where that takes us. And it's basically, this is new in 2021, they've introduced a series of filters, and you see something like that and it's like, okay, it's a filter, it's not a painting. That's fine. So we're just going to play with this. What can you do with it? You can just have fun with it and use it as another tool in your toolbox. So we're going to with that gilded, we're going to apply it. So now that is the image. and I'm going to now apply a lino cut effect onto that. So we're just piling up one effect on another effect. So this is a lino cut effect with a little bit of color. And then I'm going to apply that, and I'm going to finish off here with an aged print effect, which is going to make it a little bit more subtle in places and give it a sort of yellowish look. And you know, if I wanted to at this point, I could also go into the underpainting section of Painter, and I could, you know, increase the saturation a bit. I could increase the contrast a bit and all that sort of stuff if you want. That's all well and good. So we'll just apply this. And so this whole AI section is an interesting thing to play with in terms of, you know, some ideas. I personally am a direct painter wherever possible. I encourage everybody to look at things and just draw it and paint them from sight, because it's more fun and you learn a lot. But you can still do some fun things with this. So let's do a select tool, Command A, and then let's copy this image, and let's go back to what we were working on just now, which was this one, and let's paste it. And actually, I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to, this is a little trick, okay, in case you wonder, what did Jeremy just do? What I did was I held down my space bar. This works in Mac or PC. And then if your picture is off to the side and you hold down the space bar and tap with the grabber hand, it centers the picture. And when you do a Command V or Control V paste, it pastes into the center. So it just means it's exactly on, you know, on the center of your picture. So we've got this here, and what can we do with it? We can just, oh boy, we can just play with the composite methods. This is gel, this is an overlay. So, you know, you can decide if some of these, when you work with different ideas, some of them may work better than others. This is actually quite interesting because if I zoom in, I've now got these layers of texturization that are sort of showing through, but the thick paint is on top of it. So it's interesting. It's created a little bit more depth. One of the things you can always do, and this again is an old feature, it's been around for a long time, but you can, as in Photoshop, you can create what's called a layer mask, and you can choose to work into the layer mask. So for instance, we'll just go to a completely different brush, go to the artist favorites, we'll work with the impressionist brush, and so with the layer mask, I can eat away at the layer visibility with black or bring it back with white. So you have some flexibility. But anyway, I prefer to keep this rather subtle, so I'm going to keep that there. I can also lower the opacity of that layer. So, I mean, this is all subtle stuff that is not so easy for you to see here. Okay. And then we will do one more thing. So I'm going to leave that there as is. That's good.
And I have another question, Jeremy.
Another question. Wonderful.
Yes. So this is about printing once you're done. Do you have suggestions on printing your digital art on a printer, and how do you kind of keep the thickness of the painting you're doing in this situation?
Yes. So let's just have a think here. So with the printing, I use my main printer has been for many years an Epson 9600. It's a really old one. They've just stopped producing inks for it, unfortunately. But I've been using pigment inks with a wide format 44-inch printer. And it's been great, and that's what I did this on. And there's many good printers equivalent to that now, Canons, HPs, Epsons, and other ones as well. So, you know, you've got lots of options, but I do like the pigment ink print on canvas. I've been using the Breathing Color Live matte canvas. I just like the feel of it. Now, having said that, I do commercial work. I get commissions. And so now I'm starting to use a local company to me, Bay Photo in Santa Cruz, and they do a wonderful job printing and float mounting, framing, and everything all in one. And if you want to work on top of your print with other media, you can always do that, and that's up to you. But that's what I'm using, and I know there's many people attending this webinar who are very, very experienced painter users who print a lot. And so what I would suggest is in the chat is if you all just share your own printing thoughts and tips, and I will look forward to seeing that chat because I'm going to learn from you all. So that's going to be fun. But what I want to do before I finish here, because I've just got a few minutes left, is show one other really cool thing that I can't not show. So we're going to illustrate this, I'm going to go to the Cloner's Soft Cloner, which is a brush that simply paints in whatever the clone source is. And the default clone source is the current, let's just go back here, it's the current pattern, whatever the pattern is. And some of you who've been painter users for a long time, you'll know that, like, oh, you see the hens and chicks, where did that come from? It's the current pattern, it's the default pattern, and the pattern is the default clone source. So what we have up here is really handy little little menu, and what we're going to do is we're going to check under the clone source from the property bar. You don't have to go to the separate panel. And we're going to check this thing called clone tinting, brand new in Painter 2021. It is so cool. It is so cool. And so I could just do it with any of the patterns. That's one option. So I'm going to do clone tinting, and we'll pick this flowery one. And what happens is with clone tinting, this is where I want to bring back my floating wheel here, is that whatever color I pick on the floating wheel, it's going to use that color, but it's going to draw value information from the clone source, which happens to be these flowers. So there we go. So you're getting this wonderful way to work from clone source imagery. Now, what happens if we make this clone source the photograph, or well, now the altered photograph of the flowers? So it should be this one. Let's have a look. And so we're on a separate layer. So if I decide that this ruins it, that's fine. But I just wanted to show you here. Yes, do you see? Aha, look at this, it's fascinating. It looks like I'm painting an old document on top of my thick paint. Look at that. So what you're seeing, it's an interesting thing. You have to actually do this to really understand it. Clone tinting. What you're seeing is I'm drawing information, visual information from a clone source, and that source happens to be, I'll see if I can just show the source, and then you can see it all in action. That's the source on the left, and this is what I'm painting into on the right, and you see a little crosshair, that's the thing there. And so I'm actually literally painting, but choosing my color from the color wheel, not from the source, which is different to how it has been when you've cloned in Painter in the past. It's like, oh yeah, I know cloning. You pick color from a source image, right? And it's color that is being translated into your painting. Well, this is like upside down. It's wonderful. I love it. And actually, I'm rather liking this combination here. It's really interesting. I'm going to do one experiment and then a signature, and then we'll just call it a day. The overlay makes it much more subtle. And the gel also works. So that all works. Let's put this into, so we can see it all. Haha, look at that. And I'm just going to finish off here with a signature. And let's do loaded dry bristle. Something I haven't yet used here in this one, and it's in the texture thick paint, and it's the loaded dry bristle. Let's have a look. Blub, 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 blub. Haha. Have to look down. It's right at the bottom. There we go. And we'll work on it automatically created a new thick paint layer because of those settings. Remember, if you are using Painter for the first time and it keeps popping up pop-ups with questions and things, that thing I did at the very beginning, that's why you're not seeing any in this demo, because of that setting in the preferences. So let's just see how big this is. Perfect. And I can always change that, and maybe I'll change the color, make it a bit more interesting for this purpose. And here we go. And we are in December the 8th, 2020. And with that, nothing's ever finished, but with that, I am going to declare this finished, and I wonder, given that we're at this point, I can now take the risk of showing you, okay, you can see a mess. I'm going to just show you my laptop, so you can actually see my finger tap on the little bar that you get, that illuminated touch bar on the MacBook Pro. So I'm turning on and off the floating color, and I also want you to see my two fingers here literally shrinking, moving, rotating. Isn't that cool? So that's all using the trackpad on the MacBook Pro. So that's a couple of the things that have been really cool to work with, and I'll just put this back.
And it's important to mention that those shortcuts are on a lot of Wacom devices as well, and
yes.
that's pretty cool. So if you don't want to use your keyboard shortcuts on your computer, you can always attach shortcuts to either our Express Key Remote or the express keys that can be found on many Wacom devices.
Yeah, and I just want to actually amplify what you just said, Doug. So on my Intuos Pro, I always program my touch ring to be zoom in and out. So that's how I do that, just using the touch ring. And I can even just show how you can see that in action as well. There it is. So you'll see my finger on the touch ring changing the scale of the artwork. And indeed, you have your Cintiq touches, right, Doug? That you can basically do everything on the Cintiq screen, including gestures.
That's correct. Some of our larger format Cintiqs offer both pen and touch, making it pretty easy to navigate. Correct.
Yeah. So before I leave Painter and we return to the gallery mode and, wrap up here, I'm calling this finished. When's an artwork finished? And boy, oh boy, does this need some work. That thing on the right is like not doing it for me. But are there any final questions, or Doug, are there any questions that we didn't get to that I can now get to?
Nope. We answered all the questions while we were going, and yeah, just take this opportunity to thank you very much for joining us today, Jeremy. And I'm sure everybody enjoyed your presentation. I know I did, and it's always great to see you.
Well, it's been absolutely such a pleasure. See, I can't stop fiddling with this painting. I just had to do something down there, but let's stop share. And and if any of you, by the way, I'm curious if any of you were painting along and painting what was in the art cam here. I'd love to see what you did. And plus, if there's any, any comments and things, you're welcome to email me, jeremy@jeremysutton.com. And it's been a really great pleasure sort of being with you all. And the team at Wacom, Tom, Peter, Doug, and everybody, all my friends at Wacom, thank you for inviting me to come along and share a little bit of fun here.
Yep, and it's great to have you. And for those in Canada watching, we've got a great deal at Best Buy on the Wacom One. You get a full version of Corel Painter 2021 when you buy a Wacom One through December 31st. So that's a great deal. And then for those in the United States at B&H, $50 off a Wacom One right now. So also very, very special. So lots of great things happening over the holiday season, but nothing as jolly as Jeremy Sutton.
Well, it's been a real pleasure, and I can't wait to see what you all have created and get inspired to create. And if any of you do get some flowers and do your own Van Gogh inspired paintings, send me a little JPEG. I'd love to see. And so look forward to keeping in touch with everybody.
Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Happy holidays to everyone, and stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you all soon, I hope.
Okay, cheerio, everybody.